Thank you, President Tepper, members of the Hamilton College leadership, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, proud families and friends, and most importantly, the reason we are all here today, the 2025 graduating class of Hamilton College. Congratulations to you on getting to the starting line. I know you think it's over, but your learning has only just begun. It is a profound honor to stand before you today. However, more than honored, I am thrilled. This is what a Canadian looks like when they're thrilled. You see, I grew up on a farm outside of a mining town in northern Canada, about 6 hours north of Toronto. We lived on the last farm on a winding road into the Canadian wilderness, with hundreds of miles of boreal forest beyond our home. Our house was built on a rocky hill, and as a consequence, we didn't have running water in the winter months. My job as a young man was to drive my snowmobile down to the well in the valley every morning and provide water for a family of 7. For a long time, I was embarrassed by our poverty and way of life. I couldn't see how it was relevant in any way to the life I was imagining. Eventually, I realized that I share my experience with over 1 billion people who don't have access to safe running water. I know what water weighs. I know what it takes to provide water for a family. I never take water for granted. Every day, I turn on the tap, and beautiful, clear, water, safe water comes out, and it's an awesome start to the day. While still on the farm, I saw the outside world on a small black and white television set. We had 2 channels, French and English. When Expo 67 happened in Montreal, I saw the work of Buckminster Fuller. He designed the American Pavilion as a massive geodesic dome that had a monorail that passed straight through it. It was magical. I wanted to be part of that emerging world. So I changed my focus from science and math to art. I was the chemistry technician in art school. I had a job in the chemistry lab. But I changed to art. I had no idea about design. I'd never heard the word. But I couldn't get into art school. I had taken only the minimum of art classes. So I had to stay an extra year in high school and go to another town. I met a teacher that changed my life, Mr. Smith, who ran a program called Special Art. It was the best year of my life. My first time leaving the farm to visit a city was for my college interview. Mr. Smith prepared me, and I got in. But I failed. I lasted only 1.5 years. I just couldn't fit into their way of being. So for most of my life, I thought that I had failed college. Not surprisingly, because they told me in explicit terms that I had failed. They were quite clear and explicit about that. But recently, I realized that I hadn't failed. I did what college was supposed to do. I just did it quickly. I blew my mind. I'd never experienced anything like art college and city life. I fell in love with the magic of words and images, the idea of putting those together to make new things. I learned a new language. In my case, that was graphic design. And I got a job doing what I had fallen in love with. I became a designer. Most people take 4 years or more to do that. I did it in 18 months. So you can imagine being here today, addressing graduates from this esteemed, extraordinary institution that we've had a couple of days visiting. It's just been an absolute wonder. With only some college, as they say on online surveys, is truly thrilling. When I became a designer, without realizing, I set out on a lifelong adventure of learning. I've worked with some of the greatest artists, writers, architects, philosophers, innovators, educators, and world leaders of every sort. I consider myself one of the most fortunate designers of the last half-century. I can't imagine a better life. I designed the fan experience for the New York Jets and Giants' new NFL stadium. I worked with architect Frank Gehry on the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, and together we designed the world's first museum of biodiversity in Panama City. I designed a social movement, as President Tepper said, in Guatemala to recover the ability to dream for a population that had suffered 36 years of civil war. And I designed a 1,000-year plan for the future of Mecca, the spiritual home of Islam in Saudi Arabia. In a stroke of genius, I married a brilliant woman named B.C. Williams, and we had 3 amazing daughters. It was B.C. that encouraged me to become a writer, to clarify and publish my ideas beyond the projects that I was designing. B.C. and I worked together to develop a new approach that we called life-centered design. Life-centered design begins with compassion for the individual human, the user, like human-centered design. But it doesn't stop there. We extend our compassion to their social context, their family, their group, their business or institution, and from there to the ecosystem that sustains them. We cannot have a thriving citizen in a toxic ecology. We have only just begun to see the impact of this work, and we are still on that awesome learning adventure together. Now, if you had met me down at the well on some crisp, cold Canadian winter morning and said, "Bruce, pay attention, because you're going to have to design Mecca someday," I would have said, "I don't think so. Not very likely." But that is what happened. And I went on to design the plan for a post-oil economy innovation city in a linear model that predated the line by over a decade. This long life learning journey, sometimes directed, sometimes unexpected, is a testament to the idea that remarkable things happen, often in ways we didn't initially imagine, if we remain optimistic and open. In preparation for today, I had a wonderful opportunity to spend some time with several Hamilton graduating students. They were deeply impressive, thoughtful, ambitious. You could see they held the door open. They were compassionate and profoundly optimistic. They shared their deep gratitude for their experience here, but also their concern about the world outside of what they called the bubble here at Hamilton. They were fully aware that they are graduating from this utopian ideal into one of the most volatile and challenging environments that has ever existed. And they were excited by that. They were fully charged to lean into the potential that they have developed here, and looking forward to the tests that will come as the world transforms around them. I was deeply inspired. I want to thank them for restoring my faith in humanity. Now, any commencement speaker worth their salt will tell you that the world needs you. But I'm here to tell you that you need the world. You need the commons. You need the collective potential in all of us. You need the hard-won freedoms and institutions that you will build on. You need the ecosystems that sustain us and the social connections that give meaning to life. You need the radical possibilities for purpose and impact in the complex, urgent, and sometimes dire opportunities that you will be called to address. Don't think of them as challenges. They are entrepreneurial opportunities. You will live through a scale of change that has never happened in human history. Just consider the combination of quantum and AI technologies and the radical potential that exists for you and your peers. It is the biggest opportunity that could ever be imagined. Your ability to design, to think critically, to see potential, to connect the dots that others can't, to communicate with nuance and compassion, and to inspire, all the skills of a Hamilton education, will be critically important in the global transformation that you will guide and lead. Those opportunities will open up for you, but only if you are open for them. Only if you sustain the wild optimism that is the first responsibility of any designer. Designers cannot afford the luxury of cynicism. You cannot afford the luxury of cynicism. That is for others. Cynicism is easy. Optimism is hard. You are a designer or you wouldn't be here. You have a future in mind. You have intention. And the moment you have intention, the moment you will not accept random outcomes, the moment you have a vision, an idea, a destination, an outcome in mind, you become a designer. So lean into your power, your capacity to envision the future, and systematically realize that vision, and you will tap into the full gift of the Hamilton experience. Many people, when they hear the word design, think of beautiful objects, sleek cars, or expensive furniture. The shape of things, something visual and formal. And yes, design can be that. But that's what we call small d design. What you are capable of is big D design. Design is not just about making things. It's about making things happen. Design is the mindset of optimism in action. In its broadest sense, design is leadership. And that's what you've been prepared for. As design leaders, we don't always have the authority to force change, but we always have the power to inspire it. With what you've experienced here at Hamilton, you have the power to show people a future more exciting than their past and inspire them to work together on the journey to a new world. Alice Waters has said that the most common way that people give up their power is to not realize that they have it. You are the most powerful generation in the history of mankind. I look forward to seeing your dreams come true. So go forth, fail, learn, fail again, learn more, and succeed. Be wild, thorny, and optimistic. Design your world for the welfare of all of life. Thank you, and congratulations to the Hamilton College class of 2025.